So we've just swapped one of the hottest springs on record in Europe for winter in Argentina.
Were we mad?
Possibly, but stick around to find out why we actually really relieved to be cold again. Hi, I'm Frank,
I'm Kim.
and we're FNK Life. So you might be wondering, why would we be seeking a colder winter weather when we were enjoying what most people in Europe would consider, hey, the best possible weather? Well, we shall explain this in this video, starting with what we would normally consider our ideal year and how we were looking at it when we planned our slow travel retirement.
So we're really not people that are seeking sun all year round.
That's true.
Like, I'm really pale, not built for being in the sun full time. So for us, now that we're retired, we do like avoiding, full on winter and rain, but we're not swapping that for sun all year round.
No, so that's why when we consider our slow travel retirement, we plan to use geo arbitrage, not just to save money, but also to have what we'd consider the best weather possible. So for us, that means having more temperate temperatures, which is not easy to say, that's my third attempt, but also avoiding the most extremes. So we knew already, for example, that spending a winter, January, February in Glasgow was just
not the best.
Not just not the best and unpleasant, but also it was dangerous. The icy pavements, and you could slip everywhere you went.
We were wee little Bambis.
We're Bambis on ice, yes. And then that's the same with extreme weathers. I got a really sort of bad sunstroke and sunburn when I was in Thailand once, just spending too much time in the sun and not being prepared enough. As a foreigner, you just don't realize how much you should cover yourself, even with sunscreen.
The other benefits we have of not just seeking sun full time is there are always fewer tourists if we're going kind of spring, autumn, or even winters now. There's often offers on restaurants, accommodation. There's not so much of a competition for that as well.
Yeah, and the flights are cheaper as well, especially if you want to travel business class.
Yes, there's more availability for everything. And we also quite like a wine region as well. And often those seasons where it's like harvest time, etc., that's not in the summer, that is
it's autumn usually.
Autumnish, yes. So that can be a good time to be there and having a wine festival, celebrating the harvest and all of those good things.
That's true. I mean, most wine regions tend to have either a spring festival or a harvest festival in autumn, which means that you always have some big party going on and more tastings available to us, which is perfect.
Woohoo! And also, just in general, we don't cope that well with air conditioning and it being really heated or really cold.
Now, don't get us wrong, air conditioning is a lifesaver. And, as we've experienced recently, we were dreaming of air conditioning in Europe. But if you have it all the time, and if we lived with air conditioning all the time, I think it just gives us a sore throat, dry eyes, and it's not always the best for our health either.
So our sleep quality is so much better if we don't have to have on aircon or heating of any kind. It's much better for us.
Yes. Sleeping is very important. We've just realized this now that we're here in Argentina. In the start of winter, the nights are dark, it's quieter. We're actually quite cool through the night, and we don't heat our bedroom. And it's really nice to be able to sleep with a blanket or a duvet cover. And honestly, we sleep much better than we have
for a while now,
any place that has been too hot.
And we're here for the World Cup, so that's exciting as well in Argentina.
So it's not quieter.
Some nights it really isn't, no.
Go Argentina.
Sorry, Scotland.
Yes. So the other thing that makes a big difference, if you're too hot, I tend to get less hungry. And one of our biggest pleasure in life is eating. So it's nice to be hungry. And also one of the things we suffered in Southeast Asia, particularly at peak season, was a long walk where you get really hot. Even a short walk, you're sort of drenched in sweat and heat. Then you arrive in a nice restaurant which has aircon, and then your shirt freezes on your back. And so you're really uncomfortable and you just don't enjoy your nice leisurely meal. And being in a place like winter Argentina or early spring in France, for example, you get to sit outside and not feel too hot. You can sit in the sun and feel, oh, this is actually pleasant. So we have much nicer meals. or drinks out and sunset evenings.
And also, like, we get to just hibernate a bit as well, which is nice for our day-to-day life. So, like, I'll just make a big pot of chili or something, and we'll just do more cooking and just staying in and enjoying it. And we really like that.
We do love that. I mean, comfort foods, winter comfort foods, are still fun to eat. So, and you don't really enjoy them as much in hot weather. But if you want a soup, or if you want a
casserole or fondue, even.
Oh, my favorite, the fondue. Then those really are suited for the cold weather. So being slightly cooler means you get to enjoy all the foods you like all year round. And really, the main thing in our general planning is that we're not planning for a specific weather or a specific season. We're not chasing spring all year round. We're planning across the whole year, and we just want to have the best life, the most comfortable and enjoyable life across the whole year. And that involves including some contrasts. You can't just have, I mean, for us, maybe for you, you can let us know later on or in the comments. It's really hard to just have a monotonous same weather.
You can get too much sun. But also, in terms of our packing, we, as you say, we don't really vary it very much. We're not bringing like full-on rain jackets or coats. I tend to pack just like a couple of long-sleeved tops, which do me if we're in a cooler country, but also even in the warm countries, sometimes in the evenings, it can be a bit cooler, or there's loads of insects, which isn't great. So having, you know, just these that fold up to nothing anyway, it is all we take extra.
So yes, our wardrobe doesn't change wherever we go, but we do stay within a range of temperatures. One of the things that people used to ask me a lot when I moved to Scotland is, why would you move from France, a lovely country, to Scotland, where it's actually quite cold? And talking about contrast, for me, that was the reality of it. Whilst you do get massive contrast in France, you get super hot summer, super wet autumn, super cold winter, and a decent spring. And I was not enjoying 3 months of solid rain in a row. And that's what happened in Lyon or in the sort of east of France, where you would just get, like, once the rain started, it just would never stop. It was relentless. Now in Scotland, it's kind of the opposite. There is no relentless. You might get 4 seasons in one day. So you go from a sunny morning to hailstones at lunchtime, followed by snow in the evening. And, you know, so anything can happen. But I did like the variety, and it made for a more interesting life. So now we sort of look at a little bit of contrast that way across the whole world. And that's how the geo-arbitrage works.
It does, but our experience recently has also been that climate change is real. So, you know, both of us have at least been in the UK for the last 30 years, and we're used to our seasons. But recently, end of May, we were down in London, and London just hit extreme temperatures of being in the early 30s. And we're just not geared up for that. No one has aircon at all.
No.
And it's just really muggy, and it's not pleasant temperature. And being the end of May was just unexpected. And then we moved on to France at the start of June for 2 or 3 weeks. And that also got unbearable. And they were ridiculous temperatures.
I think a lot of people are saying, oh, but this is normal temperatures. We've had 30 plus degrees in France, or 40 even. But now we're getting them in June or at the end of May. And that's really different from getting them at peak summer. What used to be reserved for July and August is now May, June, July, August, and September probably as well. And, you know, so I know that climate change is a controversial subject. You know, next thing you'll be telling me that the Earth is not flat. But from our travels, we have noticed that the temperatures, the monsoon season, the rains, and the winds tend to be much more noticeably impactful on us.
Yeah, and certainly for Europe, if you're not aware, like, we would always avoid July and August because it's like the schools are off and everyone travels there. It's just full on peak season, and now the temperatures are just so extreme. It's really not where you want to be. So they're already avoided, but we're just finding that, you know, what's traditionally considered shoulder season is shrinking as well.
True. I mean, before, June used to be my favorite month to recommend anybody travel to Europe, you know, Northern or Southern Europe. But now I would really say, well, if you're going to do June, go to Northern Europe and focus on what would be seen as a cold country in Europe. We definitely, and this, we'll talk about our plans later on, but in the future, it looks like now going back to France, Italy, Spain, Greece, Portugal, Turkey, we would definitely
Be
avoid
done by
June as
May,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, we want to be done by May. So how has all this impacted our future planning? We are currently planning for 2027, and we'd already decided that we would only go to Southeast Asia in the winter, which is between November and February, and we are definitely doing this
Yeah.
because, and especially in northern Southeast Asia, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that means northern Vietnam, Laos, and Chiang Mai, northern Thailand, because this is the best weather for us now. We still get really hot days, 27, 28, but not as hot as the rest of Thailand
Yeah.
certainly is, or the rest of the year. We tend to avoid rainy season as well, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Ideally, yeah.
Yes. We also avoid burning season in Chiang Mai and
Yeah.
Laos, which can be quite impactful as well.
Kind of April time.
And the nights, this is probably the important part, is the nights are quite cool.
Yeah.
So instead of sleeping in 27 degrees, we sleep in 14, 15 degrees,
Yeah.
which is much more bearable.
No, it's great. But we're more now seeking where we would look for, as we say, like spring, autumn. Our plans have really changed, and now that we look to include what would be considered winter in some countries as well.
Yes.
And we pay more attention to the weather apps that are around. So we would look at what the monthly temperatures are.
Yes.
But they're really like, you just see the averages,
You
and
see
they're
the
not
average.
right.
Well, it's not right, as in it's not representative of every single day. We used to look for 24, 25 degrees, but if we go an average of 24, 25 degrees, it means the peaks will be around 30, which will be too hot for us.
Exactly.
So we tend to go for 14, 16, 17, 18 degrees as a sort of average, which means we'll get nice days at 25 and maybe cooler days at 12, but that's okay.
Yeah, we're good with that.
We're good with that. Also, we look at the nighttime temperatures, because if you value your sleep, and you should, then looking at nighttime temperatures can make a huge difference. Now, it doesn't mean that we completely avoid the hot countries or the very cold countries. There are some places that you have to see in peak winters. If you go to an alpine resort and you want to do some skiing or enjoy some fondue again, not that I'm one track, but if you want to see the northern lights.
Yeah, and then you might have to pack for those. So there are times that we would do winter, but if we can avoid it.
Yes, we'll consider those holidays, like a
true.
winter holiday, or even it doesn't mean we'll avoid hot countries either. We'll still go to the Philippines on Boracay Island. We'll still go to Malaysia, which is hot all year round, and you can't avoid it, but only for a month, and just as a fun sort of holiday, and maybe it'll be more like a beach holiday for us. But going back to the apps we use, so the one we use is called Carrot Weather app. I quite like it because it's very cheeky.
It's quite sarcastic. Yeah.
It's very sarcastic and insults me every day, every time I launch it. But mostly, I have a paid version of it. So I get to choose among sort of 8 different providers. So I can have the Apple Weather app. I can have the
Weather Channel.
The Weather Channel. I can't remember all of them, but I'll try and put them on the screen so you can see all the different ones I can pick from. It also, for every destination you search, it shows you the annual average per month. And that is really useful. Now, remembering that it's only an average, so you probably add 4 or 5 degrees either side of it.
But you can check that now. That's the other good thing for this app.
Yes, it has a go back in time feature. And this is really quite fantastic, really. So it stores all the weather for every destination. So you just go back and you say, well, I want to see what temperature it was on the 17th of June. And it will actually give you that temperature. So we use that now to plan ahead.
Yeah, it just tests out our theory of places that we think we might want to go that might have more like temperate conditions.
Yes. And again, we won't avoid all the places that are extreme, because some places you just have to go and see them and you take the weather with it. But for planning a long-term slow travel lifestyle, then this is a good
app. Yeah, it really
app.
helps. Yeah. Yes. So our future plans, with all of this in mind, we're now looking to hopefully finish up being in Asia in March, and then start moving to Europe in April. We might do like Greece or Italy and Germany for the first couple of months. But then the last month, we would really be looking for like Northern Europe, so Riga in Latvia, or maybe even Tbilisi in Georgia, and really looking for the places where it's not extreme temperatures.
So yes, for Europe, what we're now planning to do is, as soon as we leave Southeast Asia, is to start from the south as it's earlier, that is, it's still winter or early spring, and then gradually move up north.
So then once we've finished Europe, we're also now looking to go to South Africa again, which is one of our favourite places. But to get there within the off-peak season,
Yes.
we think we'll probably spend a couple of months there, and it'll be cooler, but it will still be enjoyable for us for all the wine and the food.
What's interesting about this is first of all, we want to avoid Europe sooner. So we will probably leave early June or mid-June at the latest and travel to the Southern Hemisphere. And the Southern Hemisphere is a big place, apparently.
Yeah.
But one of the things I realized when we started really planning all our trips to South America or South Africa is that the tip of South Africa is actually quite high up compared to, certainly the tip of South America. So Cape Town and Stellenbosch and the wine regions are level with Mendoza and Buenos Aires. So anything north of this was interesting. So we can either come back to Argentina like we did this year and get nice weather in South Africa. Of course, we might also consider New Zealand and Australia, and then maybe do the same in reverse that we would do in Europe, where we start at the south and work our way up from New Zealand, where it's not going to be that hot anyway.
No.
So maybe go there in February, March,
Yeah.
and then work our way through April, May, where it gets into winter in Australia, and have good weather there with avoiding the peak season.
Yeah, definitely. We're really trying to avoid some of the peak summer months all the way around the world.
So here you are. What kind of traveler are you for yourself? You know, when you think of weather, what is your ideal weather? And can you live with it all year round? Are you a sun seeker? Are you just always happy in the sun and all you dream about is being in a pool or on a beach and enjoying hot weather? Or maybe a snowbird?
Yeah, just avoiding those horrible winter months when it's full on snow.
Or do you love all four seasons and you would be too bored if there wasn't like constant
contrast,
change and contrast? Yeah. Some people are also permanent spring. We were watching...
JP and Amelia were talking about Ecuador, and apparently Cuenca has its own little microclimate, and it's like eternal spring, so people don't need air conditioning or heating, and that sounds quite good.
It does sound amazing. Yeah, just like no heating, no air conditioning, and always happy. So why not do that? So let us know in the comments, and let us know what you think. If you have any secrets, maybe some microclimates in the world that we don't know about, or maybe some places that warrant us breaking our rules. I like the idea of going to a ski resort, even if whether we ski or we don't ski, it doesn't matter. We also want to go scuba diving. It doesn't matter if it's too hot. In fact, it might be better if you're going to be underwater anyway, so you don't have to have a wetsuit or a dry suit or one of those things. So let us know what you think and how has climate change, if you believe in it, has affected your travel plans or your travel life. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye.
Bye.